In this podcast today, I'm going to share with you the 5 key strategies in order to become a recognized expert who is in demand and the go-to professional in your industry. In fact, we're going to get you to the point where you're 3 degrees of connection. You know, the old Kevin Bacon, the six degrees of separation. But basically, you're going to be 3 degrees away from the resource, the person, the engagement that is necessary to get you financially, to get you recognized, to get you promoted, to get you to the next step in your business. Now, the biggest problem that a lot of folks face today, and I get this information from my newsletter subscribers and my podcast listeners, is that they want more control over their economic outcome and their personal liberty. They want to work the job that's best for them. They want to be able to change jobs if a job goes bad. They want to either own their own business or otherwise be their own U Incorporated. Now, first off, I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations, where we help you transform business relationships into profits guaranteed. And these 5 methods will help you ratchet up your outcomes rather than being dependent on the world around you. You're going to have more control, more influence, and better communicate your needs so that the right people become part of your network and so that you make the right connections with individuals who see you as an expert in these areas in which you have experience. Many subscribers have written to me and said they have 12 years of experience, 15 years of experience, 25 years of experience, and they feel like they're being passed over for less qualified individuals that have less experience, less wisdom in that experience, and then ultimately they're stuck behind the scenes fixing the problems other people create. Now, because they've been so dedicated to their job, they either don't have the skills to go find another job. They have the technical skills. They're recognized experts or they're subject matter experts, but it's just they're so busy doing the thing that they have an expertise in. They don't understand how to leverage that thing to find new opportunities, to increase their income where they are, or to finally get the raise or promotion that they deserve. Now, many viewers are in Fortune 100 companies. They have even had executive level positions, yet there's a shakeup, there's a reorganization, there are layoffs, and they find themselves without control, without the ability to create the successes that maybe they've created in the past, and with the frustration of not having a place to turn for practical advice to get them back where they want to be. Now, I've recently finished a book, and I'm going through another revision on the book based on a little bit of feedback called Establish Instant Credibility. And there's probably a link somewhere where you can get the information about the book. But let me give you the gist of why the book was written. So many high-earning professionals, so many independent professionals like lawyers, doctors, and service professionals, engineers, they understand the craft of what they do. They've invested the education in what they do. They know how to do the job, but they're kind of a bit delusioned about how to scale what it is that they have. School didn't teach them about the importance of building relationships and extending your business network and the sales and marketing elements of influence that are necessary to really be that credible expert that magnetically attracts other people to them. And then instead, they end up with this roller coaster income where sometimes things are going really well and then suddenly there's a gap. Now, the typical 6-figure earner takes 1 year to 2 years to find another position if they should unexpectedly find themselves without a job. Now, again, it's happening today with the tech layoffs. It's happening today in the financial services sector. It's happening today all over the place where middle managers and senior level players, that's the officer role, the director role, the specialist role, are finding themselves without a job. Now, many times it's no fault of their own. It could be artificial intelligence, like the recent announcement from IBM that says they're going to lay off 10,000 positions in which they can confidently replace with artificial intelligence. Now, whether or not they can actually use artificial intelligence to replace those jobs is to be seen, but that is 10,000 people who went from 5 figures a month to 0 because they've been let off, downsized, or otherwise. Now, some people tell me that they'd rather be under promoted in an organization because it's better than being laid off. So the biggest problem with high-income professionals is that they are the target list when it comes to cost-saving initiatives during a bad economy or otherwise. So some people say, I'd rather make less money and I'd rather just have a stable job. Well, the problem with the stable job, especially if you're not aware of these 5 critical components that we're going to share with you here today, is that the stable job, you're kind of creating accomplishments. It feels like accomplishments, but very often the other people leave the company. Those who have these skills that we're talking about leave the company, and then more shit gets shoveled on top of you. And so while you're grinding away, it reinforces the problem I mentioned earlier, where you can be really good at what you do, but you're doing it so much that you lose connections with coworkers that have left behind who could offer new opportunities to you. You don't really understand what the decision makers want. So when you apply for jobs, you're not even getting interviews. And there's this struggle that comes that the harder you try, the more obstacles and distractions show up. Many of these distractions are falling back to routine behaviors, which is putting out fires in the business you're in, until suddenly you're laid off. Suddenly you've lost the job. You're blindsided. You're reorganized. And you were just praying and hoping they'd give you a red stapler and put you in the basement, and at least the paychecks would keep coming, because you'd have to face the fact that a job is not stable. Jobs don't want people who are independent. Jobs don't want people who have critical thinking skills. Jobs don't want people who can have opportunities outside that position. And in fact, that's why they lack so much training. That's why it's such a struggle to get promotions. That's why the typical employee at any income level who's been with a company for 5 years or more has half the buying power as they had when they started day one. Now, they might earn more money, the number might be bigger, but because the promotions are so low, because they've lost skills in a changing marketplace, because they've been captive to this particular company, they're now in a position where the dollars they earn buy less of what it is that they need for day-to-day living. Now, unfortunately, and we talk about this very often, and we're going to address it with solution number 1 here in a second, is that many people, their needs, their expenses expand as their wallet grows. So you started a job at $125,000 a year. Now you make it $250,000 a year. You can't afford the lifestyle that you had when you started at $125,000, yet you're spending based on your current salary. So number 1 is you want to make incremental improvements paired with the ratchet effect. So you've made incremental improvements in your lifestyle, yet unfortunately, because you've been with the company for so long, because you haven't been able to keep up with the people skills necessary to find a new opportunity, you are now in a position where your buying power is less than when you started, yet your lifestyle has increased. That is unsustainable. That is not an improvement so much that you can sustain. It's an improvement. Your life's better. You're taking vacations, if you take vacations at all, because 65% of workers don't take vacations, or they undercut their vacations in fear of getting let go. It's because you haven't done incremental improvements in areas that matter using the ratchet effect. Now, what is the ratchet effect? It means you're improving your skills, not only in the chosen professional skills, but the interrelationship skills, your emotional skills, and other critical thinking skills that are necessary to find the new opportunity. One client of mine worked in an organization that was a lot of pressure, but he really enjoyed it. He spent a lot of hours solving problems. During COVID, he had the opportunity to work, highly blessed with that. But then afterwards, the company culture changed. Not only did the company culture change, but they were doing things that were questionable, and they were tightening up the workforce by laying off a lot of people. And he thought his position was safe. He had a family to take care of, and he wanted to stay in the job because so many other people in the marketplace had lost their job, especially with COVID, that he stayed past the warning signals. Now, an incremental improvement would have adapted his understanding of his environment to have accurate thinking about that environment, and then to start setting aside cash to backstop the potential of being laid off. Now, this individual made it through COVID. helped the company solve some major initiatives, and then was laid off, just like everybody else. Now, he comforted himself before he came to me by saying, I was laid off like other people. But try to explain that to your kids. Try to explain it to your family as you're in a more desperate situation, and now you finally go seek the help and advice that you need. You don't have that backstop. So incremental improvement will be improving yourself in areas where you can then backstop so that you can't lose the knowledge, so that you can't lose that income. And what this means very often for people is as they get promoted in a job or stay with a company, they're now nest egging to create passive income, which gives them greater independence. They're actually becoming the type of employee that's less desirable for an organization, but more independent and desirable for their family unit. Number 2, you want a clear, specific outcome, not soft goals. A company is going to carrot and stick you with soft goals. They're going to say, hey, look, if you do this, you're got a better chance of a bonus or a promotion. Well, that sounds good, but what is the specific requirements to create the outcome of the bonus? So I said this to a manager once. I said, look, we're talking about a 5-figure bonus here. What specifically needs to be done in order to achieve this bonus? And they explained to me quite bluntly that they cannot tie performance objectives to a specific bonus. Well, then what the hell am I doing here? Because we're discussing performance objectives to create a satisfactory scoring. And then next thing you know, the company comes back and bell curves the scoring. And then next thing you know, the company has a budget cut and can't pay out bonuses. In order to have long-term success, to have the independence and fulfillment, to be the recognized expert in your industry that can take the chance of getting independent clients, you have to have specific outcomes. Measurable, specific outcomes. Because if you have these outcomes, you can, number 3, use a project management approach to make these things happen by default. So you're a subject matter expert. You've invested 10, maybe even 30 years in the topic area that you're working in. You've invested your own money to be knowledgeable about the current state of things in your industry, and now your company's laid you off. Now, this is better to do before you get laid off, but using project management approach with a specific outcome of replacing your income from your previous job, you may find opportunities to consult, to do a contract work, or to otherwise leverage your knowledge in order to be seen by decision makers to find a next new job. Even for highly skilled jobs, there are 50 to 100, even 300 applicants. Majority of them are not qualified, but the human resources department is no longer the right path to find the next opportunity. You've got to have a business network. You've got to be seen and known by decision makers. You have to be an in-demand, recognized expert in order to survive today, because it does take so long to find a new position. There's the myth that automation is going to solve problems. There's the myth that they can, the company's not having any problems today, so they don't need these expensive people until they actually recognize the problems. And then there's also the issue that most people don't use a systematic approach to go from where they are to where they want to be. And this includes businesses and the organizational thinking of a business. Now, there's something unique about me that I solve problems for clients and then heavily document how the solution came to be in order to solve the problem again. Because one thing I've learned over the years is that you can solve a problem for company A, and then company A can have that problem again in 2 or 3 years. And if they know you can solve that problem and you've kept yourself up to date with the types of solutions that you specialize in, and decision makers know you specialize, then they will simply just ask you to come along and help them solve another problem. Now, internally, it very often turns into a lateral move. However, the variety helps you refine the skill and improve yourself. But when you expand your network beyond the walls of the company you're in today, very often recruiters or other hiring managers will have the same problem you solved before, and they will invite you over to solve that problem as well. Now, do you really want to be solving the same problem year after year in a role? Yes, some people do, because it's security. Even though the security is not provided by an individual company, it's provided by your expertise and ability to solve problems. But many people who have worked with me in our programs very often see how that they can solve that one problem, but the methodology and approach necessary to determine a plan to solve that problem can solve 5, 6, 7 other problems, all within the realm of their expertise. I'm not asking you to learn something new. I'm not asking you to try something you're unfamiliar with. I'm just showing you how to package and leverage this particular skill you have through methodology that you may not have considered before in order to, number 4, systemize what works to automate it. Now, you might be saying, well, Justin, you just told me how automation caused me to lose my job. You're just telling me how companies trying to save money cut my bonus. Your head is probably going to explode. That's okay. Let me slow down just a little bit and explain it. The person who solves the problem keeps their job. The person who solves the problem and can solve the problem for a wide number of individuals keeps a job or keeps an independent income stream. Yes, I went into this one environment. We did a data center migration. It was a very tough migration because we added an upgrade at the same time. We had millions of unique visitors a day for this particular project. And when it was all said and done, they laid off the majority of the IT team. Now, I felt I was secure because I was part of that team that got everything migrated. Well, and we automated it. We saved time. We reduced the management headaches. We solved a lot of problems. And so I wasn't in the first line of layoffs, but I was in the second. Now, again, I have the skills that I've packaged up and I can teach you. I've systemized it. I've found ways to automate it. I've improved the skill and honed the skill. You can do the same thing because I immediately turned around and found another position that paid me 20% more than the first position, and then ultimately led down a path that sustained millions of dollars in earnings in a very short period of time. And in fact, already, demographically, I've earned more than the lifetime of many people there. Now, I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just saying that I was able to provide for myself financial security by leveraging my expertise, both actively and passively, to serve an audience, to serve a market, solving specific problems. Now, the problems you solve are different, but if you go back and think about what you've done, there are common methodologies and approaches that if were properly documented, you could systemize in order to help a client. Now, this could be a new product launch, this could be a book, this could be other things that we use to enhance your recognition as an expert, but ultimately, it's part of the success that ratchets up and positions you in a place where you have the control, you have the power, and you have the influence in the market to be the go-to professional that people are looking towards. Number 5, and the last one here. By the way, there are other strategies and techniques. I'm sharing 5 specific here that you can use to get started right away. And in fact, I have a 12-month program that is part of the Inside Strategic Relations coaching or what we do there that helps you in 12 months or less become a recognized expert in your field and the in-demand professional for your specific abilities. You won't be competing with other people applying for jobs because recruiters are going to chase you down. You won't be hidden when it comes to promotions because the right hiring managers will know who you are. It's a synthesis of combining strategic relationships and recognized expert status so that you are the person in the field who can change positions on demand, who can generate the income that they desire, and who ultimately takes back control over your career. Rather than job meaning just over broke, you're able to position yourself with not only the financial security, but the confidence, the abilities, the creative thinking skills, the critical thinking skills, and ultimately the application of these skills so that you're no more than 3 degrees of separation from those individuals who can make magical things happen for you. Now, you won't have to compromise on your ethics because you already have certain ethics that are required to learn a skill. What we're simply doing is broadening your horizons by packaging that skill in such a way, using these 5 methods, and we'll cover number 5 here shortly, but you now become the key to the success of other decision makers, those who are in position to grant upon you the authority to get that to the next level. Rather than waiting for them to make a decision, you've increased the competition for what it is that you do and ultimately get chosen more often. You increase your value in the marketplace using these 5 steps. The 5th step, of course, is use of appropriate tools and technology. See, when you package up a method like I've done over the last 20-something years, that is a method that in 12 months or less you can become a recognized expert, that you can drive demand for what it is that you do in an industry, that you can gain the power and influence that's necessary to keep that where you want to be, no matter what the economy is, no matter what the political situation is, so that you can actually see the progress and the benefit of that progress in your own career. Well, you need the appropriate tools and technology. And by packaging what you know, we are now making tools and technology that other people must have in order to succeed. So when you are working for a single organization, they're kind of hiding their light under a bushel. That organization owns your intellectual property. That organization controls you because, again, they want to get maximum use out of you for the minimum amount of money. Now, that conflicts with you, who wants maximum money for minimum implementation, but ultimately, when you understand number 5, which is appropriate use of tools and technology, you can use the right tools, such as a program that we're offering here, or other tools that are going to help establish your credibility, position you in a marketplace, connect you with the right people, and ultimately drive you towards that outcome you desire. So let me real quick go over the 5 points here and tell you a little bit about this program that's available. If you're facing an economic downturn, if you're facing that you've been wronged by some sort of enemy or some kind of company, it just seems like they're against you, that means you don't have the individual freedom that's necessary. You don't have the individual influence that's necessary to leverage the experience and skills that you already have. Now, if you believe you don't have any skills or any unique value proposition for a marketplace, very often when I sit down with clients and we do a discovery call, we find out that not only do you have unique value to the marketplace through the experiences you've had over the years, but there's something about your story that is unique, attractive, and ultimately positions you to be the expert in your field to create the results you're looking for. Now, layer these 5 steps on top of it, these 5 solutions, and you have incremental improvement. That's what my program does. We produce incremental improvement and then tie that to the ratcheting effect. That means if you gain in a career position, you set yourself up so that you can't fall back. Maybe you're a director right now. How horrible will it be to go from director to officer or even an associate because you have to change organizations, because something's gone sideways, because the position that you've loved and enjoyed for so many years has gone bad? What if you have the skills to backstop your position and make a conscious decision to find the new opportunity that's perfect and right for you? You don't have to be self-employed, but you don't have to be a slave to a corporation. Number 2, clear specific outcomes, not soft goals. Stop falling for the carrot and stick approach that leads you along knowing full well that you're not going to get the compensation, that you're not going to get the recognition, you're not going to be positioned for success because some middle manager, some director, some vice president, somebody up the food chain has decided that they're going to take all the goods and leave you with the scraps. When you have a specific outcome rather than a soft goal, you can say, hey, I want to be a recognized expert. I want to be independent of the organization I serve today. You may even want multiple clients to better secure yourself in a bad economy, or passive income streams that support your overall goals and objectives, where you can finally feel that confidence and that sense of accomplishment and be recognized in the marketplace as having it. And we do this through number 3, which is our project management approach. Now, there are other approaches, but the project management makes that outcome you desire a deliverable of the project, and then we structure out each client is individual, by the way. If you should involve yourself in this 12-month results-based program, we're going to focus on a plan for you. It's not the plan for the next guy. It's not the generic plan for everybody. But when I build these plans, I built them for my clients and adapt them for individual needs. And so you're going to use project management, and by design, these outcomes will start happening one after another. Think about the power and control that gives you. Think about how confident you can say to your family, don't worry about this economic situation. Rather than saying, oh, don't worry about it, I got a job, and then getting laid off next week, you're going to be able to hedge yourself. You're going to be able to adapt. You're going to be able to position. And then finally, number 4, out of these 5, you're going to be able to systemize what works and then start building an automation. Now, all these years you've been doing business processes and procedurals and writing controls for the business itself. You've never done any of this stuff for yourself. What if you could develop a baseline income or a baseline lifestyle that could not be taken away from you? What if you can develop the skills and the approaches necessary to have a network of individuals looking out for your best interest rather than you being the only one looking out for your best interest? And then what if you could build a community that supports your needs even when you don't realize it because it's part of that system that works? Finally, number 5 is the appropriate use of tools and technology. Now, the one tool and technology more than ever that I believe that you must use right now, it's not any social media platform, it's not any particular software, it's not any particular technology other than a pen and pad of paper. Now, you can do this in your journal, but the most valuable tool, because now that you've listened to this program and you understand the need for this, grab a pad of paper, grab a pen, and the most valuable tool that you have today is truly understanding your unique value in the marketplace, your experiences, the problems you've solved in the past, the skill set that you have that uniquely defines you, that's in many cases magnetic to an industry, and then start developing that plan to touch the people who need to be touched, who need to know what it is that you do and the value you deliver. Now, this program I have, the 12-month program, is part of a coaching system that is by application only. So what I've given you today with these 5 steps is enough to get you started, and you'll start seeing improvements because you'll have a better idea of what the outcomes you want. You'll have a better idea of the path to take. You'll have a better idea that your situation may be an illusion and you need to do something about it. But if you're interested in talking with me, or even just asking questions for free, you can visit the website at www.insidestrategicrelations.com. Go to the contact page and share your comments, ask your question, because many professionals do not have a clear idea about what they want to achieve or why. They are very often afraid of the society as it has become, and they don't know what to do. So I want to make sure that I'm getting you these 5 things in our newsletter, in our podcasts, in our membership site, and then if you want to graduate into a program where I work with you one-on-one, and we go through the steps that are necessary, and we use the tools that I've created over the years in order to create a more financial freedom, more individual personal freedom, to be a recognized expert in your industry, and you're willing to invest in something like that, then just let me know. But meanwhile, again, my goal is to get you the tools that you need, and if you're looking for accountability, to offer that opportunity through some kind of done-with-you program. Again, the 5 steps here I've shared. Listen to this program more than once. Listen to this podcast with a notepad in front of you, taking notes. It's best to do this in your journal, and we've talked about journaling in the past and the power of journaling. But ultimately, if you're interested in the program that we have, just let me know. Visit the website at www.insidestrategicrelations.com. Go to the contact page and ask your questions about this program. This is what we call the results-based program. It is the only coaching program we have, and it focuses on positioning you as a recognized expert who is in demand and is using their personal network that's well established to dominate their industry, to be no more than 3 degrees of separation from people who can make significant changes in your life, and to have the skills to influence them. And I've given you the 5 strategies that get you started. If you have any questions about this or any other program, I am Justin Hitt from Inside Strategic Relations, and I'm excited about your newfound ability to create and keep profitable customers and transform business relationships into profits. This is being done through your understanding that you do have value in the marketplace, but your current employer or your current situation may not be utilizing it as well as it could, and very often is retarding your ability to make the connections that are necessary to level up and to upgrade. So you follow these 5 steps, these 5 strategies, and you will start seeing magical things happen in your career, with your influence, and your overall growth. I'd love to hear your success story. You can also visit www.insidestrategicrelations.com and let us know your success story. I'm Justin Hitt with Inside Strategic Relations, and this has been our podcast.